Hi guys, Rob from Royal Balls. I've been cooling the snake room for about a month now. I'm feeding the snakes smaller size prey to help with their digestion. So we'll just have a quick update on what's going on in the snake room, and we'll take another look at my mini rat farm, which is actually being very productive at the moment. So let's go take a look. Just follow me a second guys out to my mini rat farm. You'll see that I had to put a sheet of tarpaulin over this side of the rat rack to shade it from the sun. It was getting direct sunlight on a morning, and some of the baby rats were actually dying from being in the sun, so I put a tarpaulin there to solve that problem. And I've also bought a fan now so that we can keep the rats cool, but it's going well. Fuzzy rats in the corner. And these guys, we've just had some more. Another litter. Cool. So the mini rat farm is proving really useful for feeding my baby hatchlings. All going good. Fantastic. So guys, you can see here clutch number 2. Clutch number 1 is all eating and growing quite nicely. Some of them are quite big now. This clutch is only about a month and a half old, and you can see that some of them have had quite a lot of meals. Other ones are a little bit slower and haven't eaten. Clutch number 3, all but 2 have taken their first meal. So whilst we're getting ready to pair snakes, we're still quite busy bringing on our hatchlings. And I just wanted to show you in a little bit more detail some of clutch number 2, just to show you how they're getting on. This of course is my female super pastel spot nose vanilla yellow belly, and you can see that she's actually getting quite chunky now. She is about to go into her second shed, but I'd guess she's well over 100 grams, heading for 150 grams now, growing quite nicely. Getting a little bit darker. You can see some of the colour starting to come in on the flanks, but still very, very bright. She'll brighten up with the next shed. So that's the first female, the prize of the clutch. That's the super pastel spot nose vanilla yellow belly. These two snakes here are identical. I think in the first video I called these pastel spot nose vanillas. You can see that they have actually started to colour up quite strongly. This is the female here. She's bigger than the male over here. You can see the similarity of the head stamps. This one's a little bit paler than this one, but the head stamps are identical, and you can see the bow tie patterns on the dorsal stripe here. If I just try and show you the belly of this girl, I'm still not sure whether this is vanilla or yellow belly. I know they're both the same, but is it pastel spot nose vanilla or pastel spot nose yellow belly? I'm veering towards yellow belly. Let me just get out the father. This is the father. Let me just move these a little bit. And he is pastel spot nose yellow belly. The head is not as blushed, not quite. The head stamp is very similar, and you can see on the dorsal pattern of the father, you can also see the typical bow tie pattern along the back here, typical bow ties. So I'm still not 100% certain, but I think these are actually copies of the dad. So I think these are pastel yellow belly spot nose Hetford clown. And again, the last of the spot noses. This one is also getting quite large. This is another female, fortunately, but you can see that it is nowhere near as orange as the previous two, and the head is much more blushed. So this is super pastel spot nose with no yellow belly and no vanilla, I think. If we look at the belly, it does have some belly markings, but it doesn't have the blushing on the sides. It has the blushing on the dorsal. So I think this is super pastel spot nose with no yellow belly or vanilla. And these two animals, which I thought before were just pastels, one super pastel and one straight pastel with no spot nose in, I now think are vanillas. This is a super pastel vanilla. It's coloured up quite nicely down the sides, but the head blushing is extremely blushed on this one, and you can see on the straight pastel the blushing is nowhere near as intense. So super pastel, straight pastel, but both I think are vanillas, which is why they have such a nice even alien head pattern on the flanks. So super pastel and straight pastel, both with vanilla. I'd just like to focus on this animal for a second, which might help to explain some of the confusion. This is also from clutch number 2. This is a yellow belly Hetford clown, and it's just yellow belly. The things that you look for in yellow belly are, first of all, the pattern is banded, and here are the butterfly patterns along the dorsal. If we look at the sides of the animal, you can see the blushing, the oranges coming up the sides of the banding. This flaming, I think it's called, is also highly characteristic of yellow belly. And funnily enough, this one does have a yellow belly. Not all of them do. There is also some of the digital pattern along the bottom of the animal outside of the stripes, which is also characteristic of yellow belly. And the head stamp is dark. Typically when you put pastel into yellow belly, the head stamp remains dark, whereas with vanilla the head stamp gets very light, which is why I'm confused about some of those spot nose combinations with the very blushed out heads. They have some of the characteristics of vanilla, some of the characteristics of yellow belly, but I don't think that they're both. This is a yellow belly Hetford clown, a beautiful snake in its own right. I think quite different to a normal, and a gene that I do want to introduce into my clown projects and some of my other projects too. Yellow belly enhances the yellow coloration quite nicely, as you can see in this example. So I hope that illustrates some of the confusion over the identification of some of these snakes. Okay, somebody asked me in a previous video about popping snakes and how to pop. Let's start out with a demo snake. This is my practice snake. So I'm right-handed, so I'm going to pop with my right hand and I'm going to hold the snake with my left hand. So I hold the snake upside down and I find the cloaca with my thumb. So with my left hand I'm holding the snake, but I'm not putting any pressure. And I find the cloaca and all I do is just pull back just a little bit. There's no pressure, just pull back a little bit. Now with my right hand, the trick is to apply pressure on both sides, and what I'm going to do is to roll my thumb up the snake like that to squeeze out the hemipenes. So take the snake, pull back with this hand, no pressure. This finger goes behind the snake's tail and then you roll up with the thumb, putting a little bit of pressure on both sides to squeeze out the hemipenes. So it's rolling up like that. Okay, let's do that with a real snake. So here's my real snake. I find the cloaca here with my left hand and I'm not applying any pressure. This finger goes behind the tail. There's the hemipenes. Just roll up and out pop the hemipenes. See that? Just roll up gently and out pop the hemipenes, one on each side. Relax the pressure. Let's just do that again. Take the snake, here's the cloaca, no pressure here, and then just roll up. You see the hemipenes pop out? Just roll up like that. Okay, you can see the snake wasn't really bothered about that procedure. He didn't really wriggle too much because I wasn't applying a great deal of pressure. But that's how you pop a snake. Let me just show you something else of interest that's going on in the snake room. These two little guys in here. Let me just get them out and show you. There's a little bit of sphagnum moss on there to keep them a little bit moist. I do have in my collection a couple of double het exanthic clown females, and I was looking for a male for that project, a double het exanthic clown, and one of the clutches from ARP was the correct combination. It was a double het to double het, and obviously there were exanthics in the clutch. There were also clowns in the clutch, so both examples of the visuals were present in the clutch. This guy here therefore is a double het, and this one is a visual exanthic het for clown, and these are 66% hets. The pairing was het to het, but you'll see this guy here, this is a female. She weighs 33 grams and the male weighs 44 grams. Typically a hatchling would weigh anywhere from 70 to 80 grams, so these are definitely runts. The rest of the clutch has shed out and these animals have not. You can tell from the shine on the head there and the slightly crinkly skin that these animals have not shed. They should have, but they haven't, and they also have not eaten yet. So the goal with these two guys is to try to save them. They are runts, they're very, very small, they haven't eaten, and typically with very small snakes in any clutch, they sometimes have difficulty with their first shed, and they don't like to eat until they've shed. So these are being kept in a tub, damp tub with some damp sphagnum moss, just to keep their skin nice and moist. They have been offered food, but they didn't eat, So I'm thinking that these two guys in a few more days time will need to be assist fed just to get them over the hump and get them started. So if I can save these and get them growing, I can keep them, and they fit very nicely with my double het exanthic clown project. Here's the male, a double het exanthic clown, and this is an additional female which is visual exanthic and 66% het for clown, so matches very well with the project. So we're going to see if we can save these guys. So there we go, two very small snakes added to my collection, which are going to need some special care and attention. So what else do we have going on in the snake room at this time of year? Pairings. Here's the whiteboard, and it's time to start pairing up snakes for the second round. So we're taking males out of their tubs and placing them in with the females that we have planned. This is a banana who's going in with my cinnamon female, and we'll put a green tag on her tub to show she's being bred at the moment. Another green tag. For some of these snakes it's their first pairing, for some of the snakes it's their second. This is a double het male going in with a double het female. And let's hope I can tell them apart when they're finished. Take the hides out from the female tubs so they can't hide. And the final pairing for this round, this is a het to a het. This is the firefly male. He's a het for lavender albino, and he's going in with my pastel het for lavender albino female. And again, I remove the hide. Okay, so I have the previous pairings on there and today's pairings. Some of the males will be cycled during the week, but I keep records, and I'll transfer this data into my breeding book so I have a duplicate copy. So it's all go here in the snake room. Okay guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.